and then we're going to talk about my research in menopause and menarche, and my next steps following my research. So, like I said, I have a background in journalism. My major is in journalism, and I'm an English minor. And in college with a concentration in narrative and document storytelling. I graduate very soon. I graduate in May 2025. And some cool facts about me is I've studied abroad in Spain. I read astrology cards and tarot cards. And my favorite place to meditate is in nature. So that's what you'll see right there. And I'm a teacher of intuition and balance. And so that is a review at the bottom of my tarot reading for a client. And so my experience at CHIP, professionally, I learned how to code using programming language. I know about R, a little bit of SQL and Python. And when I say a little bit, I just know the names. I've learned more ways to use a computer and become a stronger researcher, which is, like Asmin said in the beginning, is fairly applicable to a lot of things. So I really do recommend that everyone learns how to research, okay? In the classroom, my experience was entertaining, fun, and challenging, okay? And that's the story for another day. What I didn't expect was for this to be a self-development journey. I learned more about myself than the computer. So, if you really want to learn about yourself, get on coding, okay? I learned that coding was also closely related to nature in regards to algorithms and patterns, and maybe fractals, if that sounds familiar to anyone. And that I did well in data science. And I might explore it a little bit after this program. My experience, I learned the true meaning of a scientist. It's cool to learn from data and practice my curiosity and innovation and keep your mind open. All right. Oh, that was my alter ego over there. And so here is just some highlights of my experience at CHIP. This is me and Jessie at the planetarium. She mentioned that a little bit. And get this is our first day versus our last day. Like different people. This is us at SAS. This was our most recent field trip we went on. And then this is a podcast that I did with Chip, and we talked about how women can build more resilience. And so this was just a conversation at the library. Me, Pamela, Jessie, Asmin, everyone was there, and we were just talking about the experience of women and how the work system has an impact on us and how we can move through it. And so here was my experience at the Be a Maker workshop. It's called Being. And I was very excited about the 3D printer, okay? As you saw in the beginning, I was very invested to how that thing was working. All right. And so this is a quote from my professor, Avi. Scientists experiment to ask better questions. And that is nothing but the truth. Because you'll do the work and then it's just like, there's no answer, but I do have a better question to ask. And so that follows up to why I chose my topic. In 2012, I asked, what does it mean to be a woman? Like, how is that? What is that for real? And so I asked a lot of people that question, but no one really had an answer. Not an answer I wanted to hear at least. It was just stereotypes. And so I just journaled my experience in middle school and high school about my transitions and how I was feeling. And then I left that question alone. And in 2019 and 2021, I started my own club called the beselflove Club, where we empower girls to love themselves and to normalize conversation around menstruation so they can communicate their needs. 2020 to 2021, so pandemic era, I had a lot of free time and I was like, let me just put this in a book. And so I wrote down all of my experiences to what it meant to be a woman for me so that I could pass it down to my little sister and that I could share it with other women within my community, well, soon to be women, because really girls, about conversation, so that they know that they're not alone. And so more recently, spring of 2024, I hosted an event, and there's an S in this thing, yeah, that's okay. I hosted an event for human trafficking awareness. I felt that this topic was very important for all women to know and all families to know specifically to keep themselves safe from predators and red flags that they can just avoid altogether, especially when college college students are going out to party or just within their communities, they know how to navigate more safely. And so that comes towards the end of my experience at in college at my junior year. I did a research paper on sex education because no one talks about it until it's a problem. I wanted to know why, and I found out that people don't talk about sex education because they don't know how to talk about it. So pending, that's another question to continue for another day. But in the summer 2024, to come back around to my question in 2012, what does it mean to be a woman? I learned that womanhood is celebrated in different cultures with coming of age ceremonies. I was curious to know if this had an impact on menstrual cycles. Now we're getting to the tea. We get into the tea now. Menstrual history. In ancient culture for us, let's say, this was written in January of 1892 by Mr. Woodrow. He went to the Hoopa Indian tribe and he recorded different dances. The dance that I was most interested in was the flower dance. The flower dance within the Indian culture, Hoopa Indian culture, is the dance that is for the girl's first flower. So flower is her menarche, her first period. And so this is done once or twice a year, if necessary, once or twice. Oh, okay, yeah. Once or twice a year. All right, so I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay, cool. So they celebrated their periods. They was like, okay, we're going to live in womanhood. There's something there that the community acknowledges, okay? And then mid-culture, this is from an article by Ms. Baldwin from 2024 to July 2024, July 24th. Okay. In the article it stated, indigenous women stopped celebrating their menstruation due to trauma during the colonization. So some of these traumas look like so the Hoopa Indians are in California. And so when the gold rush happened, men came into the dance circles and took the women and raped them. So that created trauma for the women of the Hoopa tribe, and it had a negative stigma. They didn't want to continue being a part of it, but the elders pushed for it. They kept the songs and the traditions within their circle, and it became private. It was no longer public to celebrate that. And so this is a picture from 2001, and what you see here is a girl. Her name is Kayla, and she's from the Hoopa tribe, and this was the first public celebration for a long time that happened in California. And so she's performing the ritual, and this is menstrual empowerment and the rise of the rites of passage celebration. All right, so menstrual history goes very deep, and what I learned from this was there's a duality when it comes to the menarche. There's the story of menstrual straining, and then there's the story of menstrual celebration. And so it's very important to acknowledge both sides because there's a reason for everything. Okay, there's a reason why we shame it. There's a reason why we celebrate. All right, menarche to menopause. What is menarche? Menarche is the first menstruation, as we learned. And this is my sister. She's 13 on her birthday. There's mom. Hey, mom. And then what is menopause? Menopause is the perfect end of menstruation. And so what you see, period start, period end. And then why is it important to you? It is acknowledging the menstrual patterns in different countries. It's understanding women's health globally. So my methodology was looking at 9 countries. I'm gonna grab my notes, make sure they all learn these rights. How y'all feel about the presentation so far? Okay. Let me make sure we get all these names. So what you see here is Cote d'Ivoire, West Africa, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Kenya, Mozambique, Nepal, Cambodia, and Philippines. So this is from West Africa to Southeast Asia, right? The data that I found was from demographics and health surveys with the help of Avi. This is menopause in 79 countries we're looking at here, from 1990 to 2022. From 2021 to 2022, same source, demographics and health surveys from 9 countries. So what these two data sets had in common were these 9 countries. And so this was my process for my data cleaning, data wrangling, and data transformation so that I can put the data tables into tables so that I can gather visualizations. All right. And so what we're looking at right now is menarche data for these 9 countries. And so what you're going to notice is there's a spike for Burkina Faso. 15 years is where they're more likely to start their periods. And then for Cote d'Ivoire, they're 14 years more likely to start their periods. So 13 to 15 is a normal age range for girls to start their periods within these 9 countries. Philippines is a little different, okay? They start theirs at 12 years old. And so let's look at it over here. These are the 3 trends I observed from these 9 countries. These are 3 unique trends within the 9 countries. 2 of them share this pattern, and 2 of them share this pattern. And then this is Philippines is a very unique pattern. So if you do plan to study menarche in different countries, I would suggest looking into this. All right, and so you can see an incline on Burkina Faso, a spike in the Philippines, and then it decreases. And it's something similar to Cote d'Ivoire, but it cuts off at 14 weeks. All right, and so my menopause data, she's a little bit more consistent. Majority of countries start their menopause at 48 to 49, okay? I did have a lot more countries to look at in menopause, like I said in the beginning, but only had 9 countries that have the 9 countries in both data sets. All right. And so let's look at her over here as well. Like I said, most countries start 48 to 49, but we're going to get into a discussion on why this is important. Okay. First, we want to think about culture, too, why this may be happening. Culture has an impact on women's health. For example, what they have time for. So there was a study done in Europe on women in the nursing room, so ER rooms, and they noticed that the women, as things got a little bit more busier in the ER rooms in certain months, their periods were shortened and then the periods were lengthened. So some type of stress or something was happening and to have an impact on the woman's body. So I'm thinking maybe fast-paced culture has an impact on women's body. Having some certain structures has some type of stress or tension on women's body. Just a theory based on what I read. And so there's also stigma due to the taboo nature of this topic. Some women have chosen not to disclose their menarche and menopause stage accurately, simply because they may not be comfortable talking to people in white suits. Or maybe they want to keep things a secret. We know when we talked about our culture in the beginning that not everyone wants to be put on a platform, especially when it comes to sensitive information. And so socioeconomics, women with access to nutrition can maintain healthy bodies. And with that, their periods, they're able to maintain healthy periods. And then some countries have disproportionate amount of disparities that slows them from getting and tools to take care of themselves. And so they're less likely to have the tools they need to maintain healthy bodies and also their periods. So in conclusion, women across these countries generally reach menopause between ages 48 to 49, which is a relatively consistent pattern observed globally. This suggests that despite cultural and environmental differences, the biological timeline for menopause remains quite limited. This comprehensive analysis of menarche trends across these regions emphasizes the complexity of biological development and the need for tailored approaches to healthcare and education. Highlight education for me. By understanding these patterns, looking more into education and intervention. And so So with girls starting their period at the age of 12 and not always having access to the internet, who is educating these women on how to maintain your periods, keep themselves healthy? And that we'll talk about in the next slide. Okay, so this was my continued research. I have a nonprofit called beselflove where I look to educate women on, well, girls, and onto becoming a woman and how to keep themselves healthy on their periods and how to maintain a period and provide them tools. So this is something I'm growing. This is still in the works, okay? If you know someone who can support me, send them my way. I plan to complete my infographic poster to share with my community, and you can find that on my LinkedIn, where you can screenshot it, share it with your friends. This is important to know, menarche and menopause. And I also plan to use this research for grant writing for beselflove. And upon my graduation, I plan to travel and obtain my master's degree. I'm still deciding when. But you see here is my first experience grant writing for beselflove. We did not win the grant, but it was still a cool experience. I think with this research, I can go back in and apply again, and it'll be a lot more stronger. So that's my sister, that's my dad. And then that's my sister's friends, and this is a slide from my beselflove PowerPoint. Another point I would like to make is conversation and education has a big impact on health. We've seen that in a lot of the presentations today, and a part of my work is educating and creating conversation. Even though it's hard, I mean, having data definitely helps guide the conversation because it's not just bias or something your mom told you. It's just like, okay, based on the science, this is what works, and we can move forward, okay? And so I think modern day girls will have a little bit more comfort in that because social media has a big impact on how girls see each other, and conversation that is grounded and not just emotional, because we can be that, and women can. It's a little bit more liberating. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Lisa at Model, Bianca Washington, my email, join our email list and for beselflove, or book a spiritual reading. We saw that. All right, thank you so much for understanding this. Hi.
Hi, yeah. When you become a famous entrepreneur / journalist, you can come back and give a lecture.